Hey gamers, it's G from the corner coming to you right next to the little pillow stack over here as per usual. We're gonna be ranking every Nintendo console today, okay? First of all, just going off the names, Wii U is the worst and GameCube is the best. Okay, that's the video. Keep yourselves cornered for more and I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, in all seriousness, this is a big video. You know, it's been swirling in the ideas box for quite a while, and you know, the Switch 2 is a bit over a month away, so you know, we're at this point where there are a bunch of pretty much complete Nintendo consoles. I can rank all of them, so why not do that? You know, it's a fun video. It's a fun video concept, really. I'm just kind of going over everything the console brought to the table. I don't want to talk definitively everything. I feel like it's really weird when some people will say, well, the GameCube is automatically lower than the Wii because the Wii can just play GameCube games, and the Wii U is automatically above the Wii because the Wii U can play Wii games. I think that's a bit odd. Like, okay, not that it's odd in the sense we're talking about the actual hardware. You know, it makes the conversation less valid. Like, you know, if I'm talking about how cool the Switch 2 is because it can play a lot of Switch 1 games day one, like, obviously that's cool. But I don't know, with like other consoles, like when you're talking about it in retrospect and what that system brought to the table, it's kind of weird to be like, oh yeah, the Wii's so cool because I can play Melee on it, you know? I don't know. In this conversation, we're comparing them all, I feel like it's nice to talk about what those systems individually brought to the table. So we're going to start from the NES. We're going to end with the Switch. First up, I said it, the NES. I don't think too highly of this console. Obviously, I am like only half the age of it. So, you know, there is definitely some non-nostalgia bias going on here. I have no connections to the NES. Like, what? My mom owned one growing up and had one game on it, and I played it at my grandparents' a few times. I really don't have a big connection to the games on the system. At least not nearly as much of a connection as I do to some of these other consoles. And just overall going back to those games, there's not that many that really hold up extremely well. I'll give some like top picks for each system as we're going through this list. For NES, some of my favorite games definitely have to be Kirby's Adventure. You know, obviously it's like one of the later games on the system. It's a very high quality 2D platformer. And you know, two more obscure ones that always come to mind, Wario's Woods and Ice Hockey. Wario's Woods is a fun and interesting multiplayer puzzle game. I remember playing it back in high school on NSOs with a friend and having just an absolute blast with it. It's actually so much fun, so underrated. And NES Ice Hockey is also a really underrated one. You'd think it'd be part of the NES, you know, black box sports series, but it's actually not. It came out a little bit later, and it really shows. It's a very fluid, fast-paced, fun hockey game. Honestly, one of my favorite hockey games I've ever played, which is, you know, not really the highest bar in the world, but I mean, you know what? It's a good game. It's a good game. I'd recommend everybody watching this probably has NSO. You could go check that game out on NSO right now. It's a very fun one. That being said, again, like it doesn't hold up super great. The design, the look of the system, the aesthetic. I love the Famicom visually. I think it's that like cream and burgundy color looks so cool together. Whereas the NES is very like 80s, very VCR looking, you know. It's got that, you know, 80s vibe. I like it. Not as much as most of the other systems here, but I get it. It's cool. The controller is one of the worst controllers Nintendo's ever made easily. Have you ever actually tried playing with an NES controller? The corners literally dig. They literally dig into your palms. Like, I don't know how anybody finds them comfortable or chill at all. They're very awkward. Yeah, this one's gonna go in C tier. It's not like garbage. D tier, really, there's only one system that's going in D tier. But like NES is not like that incredible. Okay, then we move on, 1989 to Game Boy. I actually like Game Boy significantly more than NES. You know, aesthetically, it's a similar vibe to the NES, maybe a bit more cream. You know, because they didn't really make a different one in Japan. It's got a bit of that more faded white. Not really any more yellow, but it's more gray. Well, actually, the NES was great, but you know, it's got like that burgundy color that the Famicom had for the buttons. So, you know, I personally think the Game Boy, I'll put it a bit higher than the NES. I'll put it in B tier right now, because personally speaking, there's quite a few more games on Game Boy that I want to go back to than even some of the other consoles we're going to go through on this list. For one, it's the origin of Kirby. I love Kirby. Can't understate that, obviously. But there's quite a few good Kirby games on there, like Kirby's Dream Land 2. And I actually kind of like Kirby's Pinball Land. Might be a hot take. I also obviously like Kirby's Block Ball. That one's one that people talk pretty highly of. And Kirby's Star Stacker. That one's also pretty good. But yeah, good games all around. You know, other classics. Pokemon debuted on the Game Boy. Donkey Kong 94 is a fantastic game. Super Mario Land 2 is a fantastic game. Like, you know, Game Boy is a bit more... I also have a bit of nostalgia for these games because they were on the 3DS Virtual Console, and I played a bunch of games via that service growing up, like the Game Boy Mega Mans, and the aforementioned games like Kirby, Donkey Kong, and such. But it is like, it's a cool system. You know, there was a lot of cool, like it was, despite the fact that it is monochrome, it really did like just kind of keep riding the wave. It lasted, like, it got almost, what, 10 years of support? Basically, Tetris, another classic game on the system. You know, it's not like the greatest thing ever, but it definitely belongs above NES. I'm going to stick it in B tier. Now, Super Nintendo, I'm also going to stick in B tier, but I'm having a hard time debating. Okay, I kind of originally wanted to say Game Boy was better, because, like, there's a few more games I like on Game Boy, and a lot of the SNES games I really want to go back to are all 2D platformers. Like, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy is amazing. DKC 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. The Kirby games on Super Nintendo are amazing as well. Dream Course, Superstar, and Dreamland 3, I love all of them. Mario World, Yoshi's Island, but again, those are all 2D platformers. I've never been the biggest RPG person, so like the big Final Fantasies don't really do it for me. Mario RPG is cool. Love the remake, but like, you know, the original is also obviously cool, and like, you know, there's other cool games on the system as well. It's a nice system. It's just, again, I don't have strong feelings for these first three systems, I'll say. Things are going to get a lot more interesting real quick, but right here in this moment, I don't know where to put it, honestly. I'm going to say we put it... You know what? I'm going to keep it below, because I'm genuinely having a hard time thinking of other consoles. I guess I should, you know, aesthetics as well. Similarly to the NES, the Japanese, the Super Famicom has never been like that exciting of a design compared to the original Famicom. We go for the gray thing. Gray is now international, but America's making it purple. I don't know why the Super Nintendo's purple over here, but I mean, sure, whatever. I'll take a purple SNES. The controller's nicer, obviously. You know, we haven't hit the point where people realize that grips are cool. But you know what? It's at least it's not digging into my palms. So yeah, more buttons on the controller as well. There were fighting games on the Super Nintendo. Not many, and they weren't that great, but they were there. They were there. It's an alright one. Okay, next, the Virtual Boy. This is the only D tier system. I don't even think I need to really talk about this console. It's the Virtual Boy. Everybody knows it's bad. It looks like crap. There's like 30 games on it. There's literally only one game worth playing, and you could probably play that on an emulator nowadays, and it's like, come on, nobody cares about the Virtual Boy. Next up is N64. So I quite like the N64, actually. The N64 is a system that I have somewhat of an affinity for. It's not like my favorite Nintendo system. You'll see it's probably, I don't even think it really is going to make top 5 on this list, but it has some cool attributes to it. First of all, you know, there's a bit of charm. The name is the first name where I feel like we're starting to see a bit of that Nintendo weirdness in the name. Okay, Game Boy is kind of weird, right? But like NES, Nintendo, Super NES, Super Nintendo, like, you know, these are very basic, right? Nintendo 64, what are you talking about? 64, you know, whenever I think of the 64 logo, I think of the Japanese ads that have like this really like colorful late 90s, early 2000s-esque background, and then like some balls like form the logo and it bounces and it's like Nokuyo. There's a lot of really good N64 commercials. I don't know why I'm talking about it, commercials, when we're trying to talk about why the console's cool. The controller, probably better than the SNES controller. I haven't held the N64 controller in a long time, actually, but I recall it being better than a Super Nintendo controller. And, you know, like, it's kind of, it looks weird, but like, if you know how to hold it for the game you're playing, like you hold it like you hold the middle and right one for stick games, you hold it the left and right one for 2D games, you know? And there's a lot of great games on this system. Now we start to see a lot of variety in games that I want to go back to. You know, Mario 64, legendary 3D platformer, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, some of the best Zelda games. This is the console that debuted Mario Party, and you know me, I love Mario Party. Mario Party 3 is my favorite Mario Party. I'd have to say, if I had to give a quick top 3 N64 games, it'd be Mario Party 3, Ocarina of Time, And I'm trying to think of the third one, honestly. I'm not sure. There's a lot of really good games on N64. You know, I'm going to say F-Zero X. Love F-Zero X. It's probably one of my favorite. It's definitely second favorite, if not favorite F-Zero game. It's a toss-up between that and GX for which one I prefer, honestly. The console also has plenty of other great games. You know, Star Fox 64. Mario Kart 64 is enjoyable. It's not the greatest Mario Kart in the world, but you know what? It's on NSO. And sometimes I'll just be like, I'm tired, I want to play something quick and mindless. I'm going to run a Grand Prix in Mario Kart 64. You know, it feels nice and cozy. It's not like the greatest, again, not the greatest Mario Kart, but it's fun. It's fun to sit back and just run a Grand Prix in that game, you know? It's a good Mario Kart. It's good tracks. That's one thing about it. It's got really good tracks. Also, you know, a more recent hit for us, going on the topic of NSO, Pokemon Stadium. I used to just think this game's only worth it for the mini games, but having the rental Pokemon in there, it's such a fun, like, gather around the TV, run a battle simulator with randomly picked Pokemon. It's honestly super enjoyable. I really love using the game for that. Yeah, honestly, N64 is obviously the highest system so far. Do I want to stick it in A tier? I think I might actually. When I was thinking about this list at first, I was thinking, like, that happens, then the latter half of this list is just going to be A tier. I don't know. You know what? We're going to stick it at the top of B tier right now because I'm just thinking of what's coming up, right? And like the N64 is cool. I think it's a cool system, but there's some legendary systems that we still have to go over that are definitely going to take me a while to discuss. Okay, next up is Game Boy Color. This is C tier. This is the Nintendo system, aside from Virtual Boy, that has the least amount of support. The system came out in 1998 and was basically out the door by 2001. Like, come on, what was even the point here? What was even the point? I don't know, like, it's cute. I'm not gonna act like it's not cute. You know, I like the colors. You know, Game Boy Color is a fun name, but name me 5 Game Boy Color games, right? When I think Game Boy Color games, I think of ports, honestly. Like, the most notable Game Boy Color game to me is Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. It's a fun little version of Super Mario Bros. And that's about it. It's got bad screen crunch, but it's got a bunch of side modes and it has a world map. It's cute. I like it. Also the Game & Watch galleries. I like the Game & Watch galleries on Game Boy Color, but if we're talking about the Game & Watch galleries as a selling point for your console, like, come on, this is not that great. Honestly, it's not one of their best. This Kirby game is Kirby Tilt and Tumble, which, hot take, I don't know if this is a hot take, it genuinely might be. I think it's the worst Kirby game ever made, honestly. Yeah, it belongs there. It's not as bad as the Virtual Boy, obviously, and you know, like, there's some cool Pokemon Heart Gold, Pokemon Gold and Silver, Gen 2 of Pokemon being on this thing, you know, that's always a plus. You could play those games on at least the first ones, I think, on original Game Boy, but, you know, still, they're Game Boy Color games, and, you know, it deserves its flowers for that. But yeah, okay, now the list gets real. We got all the retro ones out of the way. We jump now into the 21st century. Let's start with Game Boy Advance, though. Game Boy Advance, not that great, honestly. I think a little overrated. Now, let's start with the positives. I love the name. I love both model designs. The original model has such a cool look to it, and the SP is the introduction of the iconic clamshell look, and there's some cool looking SPs, honestly. It's a nice system. I've held it before. It's very cool. It's definitely above original Game Boy. Is it above N64? I don't think so. I think it goes right below N64, honestly. Game Boy Advance has a handful of cool games, but it's missing a lot, you know? Like, where's a mainline Mario? There's one mainline Zelda, you know? Like, Kirby was handed off to another developer. There's, like, basically just one entry in most franchises on the system. Pokemon starts its, like, premiere run of Gens 3 to 5 that everybody always talks high praise of in this generation. Like, you know, the Hoenn games and the Kanto remakes are labeled as icons. But you know what my favorite Game Boy Advance game is? It's actually WarioWare Mega Micro Games. It is such, it's funny because most series that Nintendo has there's not that much reason to go back to the first entry. The first entry usually isn't held in the same level as the later games in the series. I mean, with one or two except, like, okay, I'd say original Animal Crossing is the third best game in the series, but like WarioWare Mega Micro Games is like so good. I think it's just the fact that it's simple, you know? It was made before they shoehorned gimmicks into every WarioWare game, and I like the gimmicks. I like Move It, I like Smooth Moves, I like Get It Together, you know, I like Touched, I like all those games. But, like, it's a very simple and easy to play WarioWare because I'll just be sitting down on the couch. Again, and I'll be like, let me boot up NSO or my 3DS or my GB, like any way I have access to the game. And I'll just be like, yeah, let's just run through like Jimmy T's micro games or something. It's a very chill, no commitment game, and I love it for that. There's a lot of weird things in it too. Again, there's a bunch of side modes. It comes with Dr. Mario. There's weird side games where you're supposed to play them with 2 players. One person holds one end and the other person holds the other end of the Game Boy Advance. It's really weird, really weird. Yeah, that game's fantastic. Other games on Game Boy Advance, like, I don't know, Mario and Luigi. Mario and Luigi series got its start here, can't deny that. Superstar Saga is great. Quite a few RPGs. Golden Sun's another one that comes to mind on the system. Mario Kart is also here, but, you know, it's just kind of whatever. Super Circuit isn't a standout game in the series or anything. Like, most of the big games on GBA are ports. Mario has 4 2D entries on the console, and they're all ports of old games. Link to the Past is ported over to this system. The Donkey Kong Country trilogy is ported over to this system, and they're all at least interesting versions of those games, but they're like, you know, it leaves the system without much of an identity. That being said, it is better than everything we've ranked thus far, aside from N64. N64, I can think of more bangers, but now shit gets real. Oh boy, the GameCube. The GameCube. Okay, like, I'm gonna be real. I kind of already have the rest of this list mapped out in my mind, but like, where do I put GameCube, man? Oh boy. You start asking me to list games on the GameCube, we're gonna be here all day. I did a whole video talking about how cool GameCube on NSO is gonna be. Just watch that. Just go watch that video, because I'm not going through every game again. The ones that I didn't talk about, like, I don't know, I guess like Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion. I did a whole video on that game. Kirby Air Ride, I also just did a whole video on. There's been a lot of GameCube talk on the corner lately. I love the system so much. It is not the best Nintendo system. I'm just going to say that flat out. It is just not. Why is it not? Simply because there are other systems that do other things better, you know? Other series have better entries. I mentioned Mario Sunshine. There's better 3D Marios elsewhere. You know, Mario Kart Double Dash. There's better Mario Karts elsewhere. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Don't shoot me. There's better Zeldas elsewhere. Like, I think it's a really good system, and it does a lot really, really well. You know, the controller, it's the first Nintendo controller to truly feel, like, fantastic. It's one that's so good that you see it released nowadays. I love the aesthetic of the system. It's so, that purple design is so just distinct. Like, you know, nowadays everybody's got to be uniform about what color their system is supposed to be. Nintendo just didn't give a damn. The GameCube is purple. It's just all purple. Nintendo was all purple this generation for some reason. I don't know why, but they just were. And you know what? I love how 2000s it is. I love the home menu of the GameCube and how like weird and ethereal it is. I love the intro when you turn the thing on. It's so great. You know, the controller colors and the console colors. And instead of like, you know, basic like red, blue, green, you got like an indigo, a spice orange, a platinum. You know, there's a black one, but there's also a turquoise one. Like the GameCube aesthetic is just sublime. I remember being a wee lad going over to my cousin's house and seeing like a ton of GameCube games they had, and was like, oh, what's this cool Mario game I've never heard of? Mario Kart Double Dash, Sunshine, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. Like, I'd see these games and I'd be like, what are these? I've never heard of them. I don't see them on store shelves. I own a Wii. I don't know what this is. The GameCube always had that mystique to it when I was younger. And you know what? It's still, not that it does. I've cracked that baby wide open. I own like all the GameCube games I could ever want. At this point, I really have no reason to collect any more because they're either all out of my price range or I'm not that interested in them. But like, man, GameCube's a good console. GameCube definitely belongs in at least A tier. Again, there are some series that are done better elsewhere, even Smash Bros. Don't fight me on this one. But like, Melee isn't the best Smash game, you know? Like, and there's some franchises that also are missing on the GameCube. There's no mainline Kirby, no mainline Donkey Kong. You know, not as many as some later or prior Nintendo systems, don't get me wrong. You know, Metroid shows up here, Star Fox shows up here, and that's not always a given with some of the other consoles on this list, but, you know, it's a good system. Okay, next up, Nintendo DS. This is a system that everybody my age has an immense level of nostalgia for, and I had played the DS a lot, but I didn't have a lot of games on it growing up. I only ever had, I think, New Super Mario Bros., Mario Kart DS, and Mario and Luigi Bowser, and Mario Party. So really just 4 Mario games. That was all I really had on the DS growing up, but at least before the 3DS came out. So, you know, I don't have that much nostalgia for it, but I will admit does have a banger lineup. Those games I just mentioned, Mario Party, New Super Mario Bros. And Mario Kart, and Mario and Luigi, they're all fantastic. Mario has a stellar showcase on this system. He's got some weird ass games, you know. Kirby also does. Kirby gets 4 entries on this system. Canvas Curse is a cool, interesting spin-off. Squeak Squad is, you know, very by the numbers, but Superstar Ultra is a fantastic upgrade of Superstar. Mass Attack has like my favorite aesthetic. Honestly, might be one of my favorite aesthetics in a Nintendo game ever. That's great. You know, okay, but what are some personal picks? Let's go back to those, like, you know, best G's picks, right? I gotta say, but some of my favorite DS games are not the ones you would expect. One of my favorite DS games is Picross 3D. I know I talked about it a little while ago. Love that game. It's such a fantastic game. Another one that I haven't talked about before, Tetris DS. It is a Tetris game. Yeah, you know, it's just another Tetris game, but it's got like this 8-bit Nintendo vibe. There's a bunch of cool and interesting modes in it. It's definitely like the coolest Tetris game in my opinion. Other series on the system, no mainline Donkey Kong once again. Zelda's weird on this system. And Metroid is also here and weird. There's no 2D Metroid, but there is a 3D Metroid for some reason. Pokemon also has a stellar lineup run on this system. As much as I didn't grow up with those games, so I don't have that connection with them. I can't deny that Gen 4 and 5 are some of the best Pokemon games ever made. That being said, it's kind of hard for me to list too many more games. You know, like I can't think of that many more games that really catch my eye or get me hyped up on the DS. I'm gonna be honest, the DS is a cool system. It is very cool. The aesthetic, the name, the vibe, it's so great. You know, that little ding when you boot it up, it's just so immediately makes you feel warm and fuzzy. And you know, the systems itself, there were multiple DS systems, and I honestly think the DSi XL is one of the coolest systems ever made. I own 3 of them. There's two of these aren't even English. One of these, this was never released in English territories. There's, you know, I want to go for a full set of red, blue, and yellow. There was a Pokemon streamer I saw online who has a full set of them, and, you know, very jealous of her. But I will find the yellow one someday. These systems are so nice. I'm trying to find a spot to put them now. They got this really, ignore the dust. These have not been touched in a minute. I gotta move. Like there's a really nice matte finish on the back. And like, you know, you plop them open and there's more dust. But like, it's got a nice, it feels nice in the hands. It's so big. The screens are huge, but they have a low pixel density. So they like, you know, they're the best like way to play original DS games because you're not getting the resolution like, you know, matched to a screen of a higher resolution. You're getting the screen is exactly that pixel and they look so nice on the system. But again, you know, in talking all these DS things, is it the greatest Nintendo system ever made? No, I don't think it is. There are some here that are better. I'm gonna put it, it's probably B tier. I think it's B tier because again, there's still some stuff that could be here that isn't. Oh man, does it go above or below N64 though? I'm gonna put it above. There's more here. I love Mario Party 3 and Ocarina of Time. No, I'm gonna do it. Fight me. I'm doing it. Oh man, I'm gonna make so many people. I'm gonna make my friends upset for that one. Okay. Next up is Wii. Wii is easy S tier. See, I wasn't playing DS as a kid. I was playing Wii. I got all my games on Wii. I love the Wii. Wii Sports Resort, Mario Galaxy, Mario Party 8, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, Skyward Sword, Korimpa. I could go on. There's so many fantastic games on the Wii. The Wii is so interesting. And hey, you know what? Coincidentally, I have a Wii remote right here with me. This controller is so nice in the hands, man. It just feels like it's so weird, you know. Nintendo just said, what if we made a weird controller for a console? And there have been awkward controllers for consoles before, right? You think about like the Atari 5200 and, you know, other systems, and like there's been it had some weird controllers, right? But the Wii remote was just, it was like, it tried that TV remote-esque design and the weirdness, and it actually kind of works. It feels good in the hands. It's very limited. You know, you're back to basically NES tier controllers. It's so hard to get certain games running on this thing. Like Nintendo introduces Virtual Console with the Wii, and yet like half the games can't even play. Like N64 games and SNES games can't use Wii remotes on their side. But like, you know what? It's a cool console. I love the protective casing, that's what we're going to call it, on it. The rubber feels good in the hands. It's a very nice aesthetic. Obviously, everybody loves to talk about the Wii aesthetic nowadays, and I love it too, I can't deny. It's amazing, it's glorious. This is another system like the GameCube where they don't skip out on a lot of Nintendo franchises. Granted, there are quite a few that, Star Fox and F-Zero don't make it here, but mainline 2D Mario comes back, mainline Kirby comes back, and Galaxy is a better Mario game than 64, well, actually it is, but also Sunshine. There's just so much here, and so many random third-party picks here that I'll talk about. Sin and Punishment Star Successor, a fantastic on-rail shooter. I mentioned Core Rimpa earlier just because it came to mind. It's like, imagine, okay, they've released a monkey ball game with motion controls at launch. It's not very good, it's not very interesting. Imagine that game, but actually fun. That's what Core Rimpa is. It feels so... The motion controls, despite being a Wii launch title, it just feels so cool and fun to move the controller around. I'm not begging for Core Rimpa to come back, not a million years. I have Monkey Ball, I'm cool with Monkey Ball, that gets to fix it for that, but you gotta play Core Rimpa on a Wii, man. That stuff feels good. Mario Kart Wii, can't forget about Mario Kart Wii. It's a classic Mario Kart game. People love it for the mechanics. I'll say it has a good track list, and it's a very fun game to go back to, It's one that everybody always wants to go back to. It's a very popular game. The Wii series, of course, can't forget about that. Wii Sports Resort. There's just so much to the Wii. Love the aesthetic again. Just look at the console. Look at this thing, this white box. Put like a weird disc driver. It looks like the future, right? Meanwhile, this thing came out when I was 3 years old, and I was like, wow, that's a video game system. Man, it's cool. The Wii is just cool. Okay, next up is the 3DS, which is also super cool. Not gonna put it down just yet, but this is my Nintendo system. Like, this is the system that I think, as a kid, I spent the most time on. I took my 3DS with me everywhere. I went through 3 of those things, man. Like, I love this system so much. It has some amazing... It has that aesthetic from the Wii is taken to another level here. The Me channel is here, but it's got a nicer theme. The system comes packed in with things that do stuff with AR, and I'm gonna be honest, I've said this and other people agree with me, still the coolest use of AR I've ever seen in my life. I'm gonna be honest, putting the card down and playing all those fun games, I love it. I still love it to this day. Street Pass, like, who comes up with that? Let's make a thing where if you walk by someone with the system, you get a Mii, and you get to see what they've been playing, and you get to use that Mii in a game. And then they just kept adding games to it as well. I never got too many of the DLC ones. I think I only got the free one they gave you, but like, damn, Street Pass was cool, okay? Game-wise, let's talk games. Okay, Mario Kart, 3D Mario, 3D Zelda remakes, 2D Zeldas, 2 brand new ones for the record, 2 mainline Kirby games. Pokemon is good on 3DS. Not gonna act like it's the best ever, but you know what? Gen 6 is my baby, so I have to at least give it some flowers. Let's talk my favorite 3DS games. Animal Crossing New Leaf is the uncontested best 3DS game, no questions asked. It is probably the best Animal Crossing too. New Horizons is great, and I love the original, but New Leaf is like the best of both worlds, and I can't act like it isn't the best because of that. As much as I want to be hard on that game because I have too much nostalgia for that game. It was my first Animal Crossing, and I played it so much growing up. But you know what? It just is that good. It really is that good. So many events in that game, so many things you can do in that game. It's amazing. Another one, a late 3DS game actually that I would say makes my top 3 probably, honestly, WarioWare Gold. We're back to WarioWare again, but this time, instead of being simple and having the least amount of things, it's complex. It has everything. Gold is the one time they said we can do a WarioWare that brings all the mechanics back, because now we have touchscreen, gyro, and obviously buttons. So let's just do it. Let's just bring as much into the series and catapult the series back into Nintendo's relevant pool of franchises, because WarioWare was kind of gone for a while. Game & Wario was 5 years old, but that was kind of a Nintendo Land clone, and the last real WarioWare game came out in 2006, so like 12 years before Gold did. So like, yeah, it'd been a while since we had some real WarioWare, and that game is fantastic. And one more great one. Oh man, this is hard. If you don't know me, Pushmo. I love Pushmo. I love the Pushmo series so much. It's these fun puzzlers made by Intelligent Systems. The games are fantastic. I highly recommend all of them. Unfortunately, there's no way to legitimately play any of them, Nintendo. What the heck? But seriously, I love all of those games. so much. I love them so much. I highly recommend any of them. If you have a way to play those games, play those games. They are peak. For lack of a better word, 10 out of 10 masterclass in games. Like, every Nintendo series that gets an entry on 3DS just knocks it out of the park, man. Like, Smash Bros is on this thing, and that was a very fun Smash Bros. I played it so much growing up. You know, again, there's definitely some nostalgia here, but it's also the only Nintendo system to have themes. S tier. Bottom of S tier, though. It's above GameCube, below Wii. I think the Wii still has it beat in some areas. Does it really, though? Wii's got cool multiplayer stuff. I think that's it. Yeah. 3DS and Wii are very close together for me, but the Wii does more with multiplayer, and the 3DS has quite a few good, interesting multiplayer games, but the issue kind of becomes that it's a 3DS, and, you know, you gotta have people who have 3DSs and sometimes even have the games for it to work out. All right. Wii U. Let's have a real talk. Me to you. Wii U is okay. It's a good console. It's not like the worst thing ever. Especially, you know, really looking back at the era the Wii U was around in, the best games coming out were on it, right? Like, what were the best games that came out in 2013, 14, and 15? I'm sure you could name like a handful of big multi-plat titles, but you're probably going to end up naming at least one Wii U game, you know? Mario 3D World, Mario Kart 8, Smash 4, Mario Maker, Splatoon, you know? Like, those games are fantastic. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, NES Remix, Nintendo Land. The Wii U is a good system. It has issues, you know, the name, obviously. Nintendo did not launch this thing properly. I want to talk about game console launches at some point and use it to talk about the Switch 2's launch. But, like, man, what was Nintendo thinking launching this thing with Nintendo Land and a 2D Mario? And basically, it took them until the console had already come out to confirm that, yes, 3D Mario, Mario Kart, and Smash Bros. Were all coming. Like, how were there no known tentpole franchises ready to go day one, or at least like that we knew were coming? The big game they were trying to push coming after launch was Pikmin 3 and Game & Wario. Games that were... Pikmin 3 is amazing. Fantastic video game. Game & Wario is a Nintendo Land clone of WarioWare. Why wasn't this out at launch? Why is... I mean, if it was out at launch, it would have just been like, here's 2 Nintendo Lands and a 2D Mario. Like, the game's alright. The console's alright. Like, I'm trying to imagine if the Wii U was coming out today and I was able to get it at launch, how I would feel. I'd probably be like, oh, yay, fun new console. But I wouldn't be that enthused about it. It'd be like the PS5 launch, if you know what I mean. Although, granted, I'm going to be honest, I think that system has a better launch lineup than the Wii U, if you really sit down and look at it. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a fine system. Again, there's good games. It has Pushmo on it, so it can only be so low. Here, let's G's picks again. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. I'm a big Kirby guy, obviously, but I've always, you know, noticed that this game doesn't get as much love as I think it deserves. It's a very fun Kirby game. It's got cool multiplayer. The aesthetic's amazing. The soundtrack is probably my favorite in the series, you know. It's weird because it's a spin-off, but it really feels like a mainline Kirby game, honestly. You know, it is a quote-unquote platform. It's a very gimmicky platform, but a platformer nonetheless. Is it my favorite game in the series? Not by a long shot, but it's one that I love going back to and I will cherish. And, you know, I hope eventually sees some sort of reissue. Maybe we could get it on Switch 2 because of the mouse controls, who knows? But, you know what, I really like that game. I really like it quite a bit. Other great Wii U games, I mentioned Pushmo. Pushmo World does exist. It's a fantastic game. Bayonetta 2 was on this system, and that's one of my favorite games of all time. I never played it on Wii U, but, you know, it's a Wii U game. So is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Like, again, the Wii U was just hitting banger after banger. Mario Maker is one of my favorite games. The Maker 2 outclasses that game in every way. But Maker 1 has this fun vibe to it. I remember when it came out, it was such a fun game. You know, it was the right place, right time kind of Mario game. And if it came out at the Wii U's launch, I think the Wii U could have done a lot better. I think that would have been like a very bold way to launch the system. Be like, hey, the launch title is another 2D Mario, but you can make your levels. Maybe it would have acted as a good complementary title to New Super Mario Bros. 2 then. But alas, we're in the era where the Wii U has failed. Okay, let's be real. It's not as good as GameCube, but is it better than N64? And DS. That one's going to hurt a lot of people, man. I'm sorry. The Wii U's got more notable games than the DS. I'm going to be real. Like, more games that I personally love, at least. Wii U, I almost want to say A tier. It's got good aesthetics, but the thing is, the 3DS really carries a lot of those Mii vibes. Like, the Wii U gets, like, a Mii game or two in the first year of its run, but I think Nintendo quickly decides to stop doing them. Like, you get a Wii Party U, and you get Wii Sports, but it looks like a PS3 game now. But, you know, the aesthetic isn't there. But I did list more games than N64. It really just comes down to, do I think it's an A tier system or do I think it's a B tier system? I love the Wii U. I really do. I really love it. I really wholeheartedly love it. But there's just so much. No, you know what? I feel like it's A tier. I'm gonna be kind. Okay, so Nintendo Switch is the best Nintendo console ever made. Look, here's the thing. The Switch kind of has an unfair advantage. And that unfair advantage is called being actually supported for 8 years with consistent releases. Every other Nintendo system on this list has maybe either, as like anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 years of support. The 3DS and DS technically have like 8 years of support each, but like it's very technical. Like, you know, they got games in 2011 and 2012 and 2018 and 2019 respectively, but were those games really that much of importance? I mean, okay, Black 2 and White 2 did come out at the end of the DS's life, and WarioWare Gold came out at the end of the 3DS's life, so I can't really say that. But the Switch has, like, look at this, look at the Switch's 7th year compared to the DS's 7th year, and you'll see what I mean, right? Like, last year, we got games like Mario Party Jamboree, Mario Luigi Brothership, and Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. It's insane. At the start, the Switch kind of felt like Nintendo just trying to recoup their losses with the Wii U. Once they realized it took off, they brought everything they did on the Wii U and put it on the Switch, either just again or bigger and better. And then I think it was once we hit the start of the decade, Nintendo kind of was able to actually do shit. Like, they were like, okay, we did everything we already did on 3DS, on Wii U, 3DS and Wii U, basically. They did all the repeats, so what else? What have we done? What else can we do? 2D Metroid, Mario Golf, a good Mario Party, freaking WarioWare. There was a new WarioWare in 2021. That was weird. Pokemon Snap. Whoa, okay. And also we're doing 3D Kirby. Whoa. Switch Sport. It was okay, but it was at least, you know, it was something, right? Like, the Switch has so many games. Whenever I walk into a GameStop or Walmart or anywhere and I just take a glance even at the game section, I look at the Switch, I'm just like, what in the heck is this console? I really didn't talk about third-party stuff on these systems too much. I really only did with the Wii, because I think the Wii was the one that it really was that, like, much of a matter. Okay, beyond, like, the early stuff, obviously, but, like, really, I mean, like, the GameCube one has, like, Monkey Ball and Resident Evil. Those are the games I could have brought up that I think are of importance, but other than that, everything else is kind of whatever. But the Wii, you know, the Wii got a lot of interesting exclusive third-party support, and the Switch, I feel like, is really where the indie scene, like, we're at the point by 2017 where you're getting tons of amazing indie games all the time, and I play so many of those on my Switch. I'm gonna do G's picks, but let's be real, we know all the big Switch games. I don't need to tell you that Mario Odyssey and Smash Ultimate are fantastic. How about I tell you some of my favorite quote-unquote hidden gems? I'm not gonna say they're all hidden gems. Like, okay, Part-Time UFO. I love that game so much. It's made by HAL, the Kirby guys, but, like, you know, it's a $12 Canadian game. Like, how is this not a game that everybody who owns the Switch has played? It's so good. It's got, like, one of my favorite art styles in a video game ever. I'm gonna be honest, I love how that game looks so much. It's so cute, it's so charming, it's so much fun. There's a good amount of content. There's a lot of content for what you're paying. Honestly, I really love that game. I think more people need to check it out. On the side of indies, well, I don't know if you'd necessarily consider them indie, but the Switch has been a great system for Jackbox. I really like picking up those games on the Switch. You know, the Switch is an easy system to bring around. So let's say, you know, we're hanging out with a bunch of friends or we rent out a cottage or something. We'll just, like, plop the Switch in, throw on Jackbox, and hey, everybody go on your phones. We're gonna play a game of Job or Quiplash. You know, it's really fun. It's a really fun game series to have on the system. Other indies, Celeste. I mean, come on, everybody knows. If I say Celeste and Cuphead, everyone's gonna be like, well, yeah, duh, Celeste and Cuphead, obviously. I talked about Stitch last year. That game was fantastic. I'm trying to think of more recent ones, but I'm realizing I did videos on all those games. So, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a lot to play on this thing, right? I've been wanting to check out Rift of the Necrodancer. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get around to it soon. Maybe I will. You know, the Switch just has such a breadth of games, though. There's so many. And it does lose a bit of that Nintendo charm. I'll admit, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, whatever, who cares? Like, okay, yeah, the menu is kind of bland. It's better than everybody else, but I'm going to be real, saying that something is better than everybody else in the current games industry is kind of pathetic, because everybody in this industry really does not know what they're doing aside from Nintendo, at least in the hardware side. But, like, the Switch still has its own vibe, you know? There's something about the home menu that's kind of almost gotten nostalgic now, which is very stupid to say. But, like, I mean, come on, we've been staring at it for 8 years, you know? I obviously I'm going to feel something when I see it now. I have loved the controllers. Oh, man, I don't have a bunch of variants on me, but like, you know, the original colors are fine. Those yellow ones I thought were pretty cool, but like, you know, they're not like really yellow. They're kind of a lime green, but they're still cool. And then, you know, we get the good stuff kind of at the start of the decade again, like a lot of things with this system. You get like a bunch of cool console variants. It has probably some of my favorite Nintendo console variants, actually. The Animal Crossing one's beautiful. The OLED ones are all fantastic. Splatoon, Pokemon, and Zelda, they all are just, wow, beautiful. I love the Mario Anniversary Switch one. Not the Switch, no, I don't know. I like both versions. They have a red dock, red Joy-Cons, and the Switch 1, or the regular Switch, even has a red backside. Although I don't like the red and blue Joy-Con grip. I don't know how I feel about that. But I love the idea of a red Nintendo console, like actual red Nintendo console, because that is Nintendo's primary color that they kind of show everything with nowadays. Yeah, I don't know though. You know, like the Switch has a lot going for it. And you know, obviously it was a runaway success, which is why Nintendo's going very, very headstrong into let's just do a sequel. Like, just straight up, Switch 2, and we'll figure out what we do from there in 10 years, you know? And I get it. And right now, everything that we're seeing about that system has me so insanely excited. It's going to be up here on the Hall of Fame with all these consoles of legend, okay? These consoles live rent-free in my head. You know, at the time of recording, tomorrow, I'm going down with some friends to check out the Switch 2 experience in Toronto. I didn't get in. They did. Maybe they'll let me in. We'll see. But, like, man, just thinking about all the history this company carries. They carry more history than anyone else in this industry. And it's just so, looking at these consoles lined up like this, it's just so, like, cathartic to me. You know, the fact that the most recent Nintendo console, I could say, even without all the old games, even without, like, NSO and all that stuff, I think is the best Nintendo system. It's kind of remarkable, honestly. And it really shows the kind of momentum they have right now, where, like, even last year, like, man, how was last holiday for the Switch so much fun? There were, like, 3 major Nintendo releases that, like, they would not release those kind of games in the last year of the Wii, or the GameCube, or the DS, or the SNES. Like, you know, like, oh my god, Nintendo went, like, they went so crazy with this system, and I really hope I really hope I can put Switch 2 above Switch without even having to think about backwards compatibility. That's what I want to say, right? Maybe I will, maybe I won't, who knows? But yeah, that's going to do it for today. These are my rankings. If I forgot something, a color TV game goes, like, above Virtual Boy, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Keep yourselves cornered for more on Nintendo and gaming. Bye-bye.